Welcome, listener. Welcome to the edge. You didn't click this by accident. You were drawn here, pulled into this message by something heavier than curiosity. There's a reason your eyes widened at the title. There's a reason your mind sparked when you saw the thumbnail. It's because deep down, you felt this moment before. You've tasted this chill, sensed this storm, long before it arrived. You're not surprised anymore, are you? You're evolving. The world hasn't caught on yet, but you're beginning to see the patterns. And now, the question on everyone's lips, wait, how the hell did you know that? But here's the truth. You always knew. And today, I'm going to remind you just how dangerous that is. Before we begin, lock into this moment. If you're listening to this, it means something is stirring inside you. Something dark, something deep, something powerful. So before we walk into the fire together, make sure to like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe if you want more truth that doesn't hold back. This isn't just content, this is a call. And once you hear it, you never unhear it. Now listen carefully. There's a war happening, but it's not being fought with guns or blades or tanks. It's a war for attention, for truth, for your mind. And in a world where everyone's scrambling to keep up, running from distraction to distraction, there are a rare few, who stop, listen, and somehow know. They predict the move before it happens. They speak truths that shake people. They act before others even feel the wind change. And when the world finally catches up, it gasps and says, "How did you see that coming?" But they don't understand. This isn't magic. This isn't luck. It's war-torn intuition. It's earned awareness. And it's terrifying to those still asleep. People like you are starting to feel different. You're noticing things. You're ahead of conversations. Your silence is louder than noise. You speak rarely, but when you do, it lands like thunder. You've stopped trying to explain yourself because you've realized most people aren't ready to hear what you're carrying. And when the moment finally comes, when events unfold just like you said they would, you don't gloat. You don't scream, "I told you so." You just look at them, eyes steady, and they ask, "How the hell did you know?" Because somewhere along the line, you woke up. Maybe it was pain. Maybe it was betrayal. Maybe it was standing in the wreckage of your own life and realizing no one was coming to save you. But you stopped pretending. You stopped chasing shallow validation. You turned inward. And from the ashes of your old self, something else was born. Not soft, not tame, but real. Raw, watchful. You started seeing beneath people's words. You started noticing their patterns. You heard what they didn't say. You saw the cracks in their smiles. You began to calculate moves like a strategist, not a dreamer. And the scariest part, you were right. Again and again and again. The world doesn't know what to do with someone like you. They want predictable. They want pleasant. They want average. But you've tasted something else. Something sharper. You've felt what it's like to walk into a room and know what everyone's hiding. You've lived moments where time seemed to slow down, where you could read the future not from visions or stars, but from silence, from energy, from subtle shifts that others ignored. And now, when the world tilts and things fall apart, you don't panic. You've been here before. You predicted this storm. Hell, you trained in it. They'll say it's a gift. They'll say it's spooky. They'll laugh nervously and call you psychic. But you know better. This didn't come easy. It came from nights staring at the ceiling, piecing together your own chaos like a detective. It came from 1,000 conversations where people lied and you smiled, remembering every slip. It came from being dismissed, overlooked, doubted, and never forgetting. It came from pain. And pain, when faced, doesn't just wound. It sculpts, it reshapes, and it sharpens. Your awareness is your power, but it's also your curse. Because once you start seeing clearly, you can't turn it off. You watch people move through their illusions like actors in a play you've already seen. You feel the plot twist before it happens. You notice when someone's energy shifts before their words betray them. You know when a storm is coming, months in advance, and no one believes you until it hits, until they're drenched, and then they look at you, dripping in disbelief, and whisper, "How did you know?" Because you did the work, not the kind you post, not the kind that gets applause, the lonely kind, the kind that breaks you first, the kind that forces you to see every ugly corner of your soul and love it anyway. You didn't read the future in a book. You read it in scars, in losses, in long silences, in locked rooms. You bled for this intuition. So no, it's not magic. It's memory. It's survival. It's intelligence born from wreckage. And now it speaks in your ear like a ghost, guiding your steps before others even begin to crawl. But let me be clear, this gift isn't for the faint of heart. Because when you see truth, it isolates you. When you predict things before they happen, people get nervous. They stop inviting you. They think you're strange, too intense, too quiet, too observant. But they don't understand. You're not trying to impress them. You're watching. You're learning. You're storing data that they casually ignore. And when the time comes, when their illusions collapse, you're already miles ahead. Calm, collected, ready. They don't know that you've been through fires they couldn't imagine. That your calm isn't a mask, it's armor. That your silence is not fear, it's focus. They mistake your solitude for loneliness, not realizing that you've never been more connected to yourself, to your path, to the truth. So, when the moment hits, when reality snaps like a twig and everyone else panics, you breathe. You've been here before. You predicted it. And the only thing you feel is clarity. This isn't arrogance. It's awareness. This isn't superiority. It's survival. You had to learn faster, grow sharper, become quieter. You couldn't afford to be naive. You couldn't afford to be average. Life didn't give you that option. So when they ask, "How did you know?" you don't answer. Because if they didn't see it then, they won't understand it now. You simply move forward, eyes locked on the next shift, the next tremor, the next truth, waiting to be unveiled. There's power in that. There's power in the unseen. There's power in knowing something no one else can see until it's too late. But it's also a burden. Because when you're right too often, people stop listening. They get uncomfortable. They'd rather believe in coincidence than confront the idea that someone among them can see. And yet, you don't stop. You keep observing. You keep preparing. You keep trusting that inner signal, the one that never lies, the one that gets louder the quieter you become. And someday, the world will catch up. The people who once laughed, who once doubted, who once rolled their eyes at your certainty, they'll return. They'll say you were right. They'll say you knew. But by then, you'll be far ahead, chasing truths they still don't have the stomach to face. Because this path doesn't stop. It deepens. The more you listen, the more you learn. And the more you learn, the more the world begins to whisper your name, not with doubt, but with reverence. Not How did you know? But teach me. So hold the line, trust the silence, walk with certainty, even when no one claps. Because you weren't made to be understood, you were made to see. And someday, when the dust settles and the lies fall away, they'll remember the quiet one, the one who warned them, the one who didn't flinch, the one who stood tall as the chaos unfolded, and they'll ask, one final time, how the hell did you know? And you'll smile, because the answer was never for them. It was always for you. You don't say much anymore, not because you don't have words, but because most people aren't ready for what they would unleash. It's easier for them to cling to illusions, to believe in comfort, to protect themselves from the truth. But you walked straight into it. You let it cut you open. You sat in it until it stopped being terrifying and started becoming familiar. That's why you don't flinch when others do. You already met the darkness. You made peace with it. And that makes you dangerous in a world addicted to pretending everything's fine. The further you go, the lonelier it gets. Not because you're unloved, not because you're forgotten, but because very few are willing to walk that far into the unknown. You start seeing the strings behind people's actions. You see when they're lying to themselves. You see when they're running from something. And when you speak, your words land like thunder because they come from a place deeper than opinion. They come from knowledge. They come from experience. They come from the unbearable stillness of truth. And it scares them. People talk about wanting to be different. They want to stand out, but they don't want what comes with it. They don't want the silence, the rejection, the misunderstanding. They want attention, not transformation. But you didn't have a choice. Life pushed you into the fire, and you didn't come out the same. You came out watching, calculating, listening, and now people are just starting to notice that you're not like them, that you move differently, that you speak rarely. But when you do, it stops everything. There will be moments where you'll feel the urge to shut it off, to go back, to try to be normal. But you can't unknow what you've learned. You can't unsee what's now obvious to you. You can try to play the game, smile at the surface conversations, nod along with their illusions. But inside, you're screaming, not out of anger, out of clarity. Because once you taste that level of awareness, normalcy is a cage, and you are not born to be caged. That voice inside you, the one that warned you, the one that predicted the betrayal, the collapse, the shift, it's real. You've tested it. You've doubted it. But every time you listened, it saved you. Every time you ignored it, you paid the price. And now you trust it more than anything else. That voice is not fear. It's not paranoia. It's data, collected, refined, honed through pain, through time, through pattern recognition the rest of the world doesn't even believe in. But you do, because it's never lied to you. And now you walk into places and feel the energy shift before anyone says a word. You know who's faking. You know who's hiding. You can feel when someone's about to snap. You sense the storm before it breaks the sky. You don't need a headline to confirm it. You already adjusted before the world even blinked, and they call it luck. They call it instinct. But it's none of that. It's preparation. It's scars. It's learning every single painful lesson life ever threw at you and refusing to let it blind you. The more you see, the less you speak. You know now that speaking truth to the unready isn't wisdom, it's warfare. They'll fight you not because you're wrong, but because they're not ready to accept they were never right. So you move in silence. You let your actions predict. You let your absence speak. You let the universe prove your foresight while you stay rooted in knowing. And when they come to you, dazed, confused, seeking answers, how did you know? You look them in the eye and you say nothing. Because you were never trying to prove anything. You weren't playing their game. You weren't in it for recognition. You just wanted to survive, to protect your peace, to stay awake in a world begging you to go back to sleep. And every time you trusted that voice, every time you listened to the silence instead of the noise, it sharpened you, hardened you, and now you stand here, not cold, but unshakable, not bitter, but boundless, not arrogant, but untouchable. The most powerful people aren't loud. They don't announce themselves. They don't need to convince you. They know. They move with precision. They act before others even sense a threat. They don't explain their decisions because they've already seen 10 moves ahead. And you, yes, you are becoming one of them. Slowly, silently, unapologetically. And it terrifies people. Because power like that can't be bought. It can't be taught. It must be earned. Through silence, through pain, through time. But with that power comes responsibility. You will be misunderstood. People will think you're cold, distant, paranoid, but they don't see the cost of what you carry. They don't see the years it took to become this aware. They don't know what it's like to feel everyone's energy before they speak, to calculate threats, motives, lies, automatically. You didn't ask for this, but now that you have it, you refuse to let it rot. You're not wasting your sight on games. You're here to change the landscape. And when they ask again, and they will, how did you predict that? You'll think back to the nights you spent alone, analyzing your own thoughts, the mistakes you replayed over and over until the pattern finally revealed itself, the heartbreaks that taught you what masks look like, the betrayals that forced you to notice the little signs, the hesitation in a voice, the delayed message, the subtle withdrawal of warmth. Every piece was data, every scar was code. And now, you speak the language of reality fluently while they're still stuck in fantasy. There is a weight to being right too often. You felt it. The isolation, the doubt, the guilt of knowing something painful before it happens. But you're not alone. There are others like you, silent, steady, watching from the shadows, piecing together the world like a chessboard already in motion. You'll find them, or they'll find you. And when you do, you won't need to explain yourself. They'll look into your eyes and know they see too. Until then, hold the line. Don't soften to make others comfortable. Don't shrink your insight for their approval. They'll catch up, maybe. But by then, you'll be light years ahead, building in silence, preparing for storms they still think are sunny days. And when they say, one more time, wait, how the hell did you predict that? You won't need to respond, because you didn't predict it. You saw it, you felt it, you lived it, long before the rest of the world opened their eyes. And that is your power. And maybe the hardest part of it all isn't being right. It's being early, too early. Watching others walk into walls you saw coming from a mile away, knowing how it ends, yet staying silent. Because you've learned. Some people need to crash before they learn to steer. You used to try to warn them, remember? You used to beg them to listen, to slow down, to open their eyes. But they didn't. They couldn't. Not because they didn't believe you, but because their minds weren't built to hold what yours could. And now you've learned the art of silence. Not all silence is weakness. Not all quiet is surrender. Sometimes, silence is strategy. It's precision. It's respect for your own energy. You've stopped fighting battles that drain you. You've stopped throwing truth into black holes. You're not bitter. You're calculated. You're not angry. You're awake. And that scares people more than any outburst ever could. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't react, who doesn't need their approval, who doesn't flinch when the world shakes. You've become the storm before the storm, the presence that shifts the atmosphere when you enter a room, and people feel it. Even if they don't understand it, they feel it in their bones. They feel it when you look at them, when you really look at them, because they know, without a word, that you see through them. You don't judge them. You don't expose them, but you know. And that knowing, that's the most disarming thing of all. There's something ancient in you, something ageless, as if the wisdom you carry isn't just from this life, it's accumulated, as if your soul has walked through lifetimes of battle, and this version of you is simply the latest evolution, the clearest one yet, the one who remembers. And whether you believe in past lives or not, you know what I mean. Because that sense you have, that deep, almost holy intuition, it feels older than logic. It's not something you learned, it's something you remembered. And as you evolve, the world will offer you choices. Stay soft so they'll like you. Stay loud so they'll notice you. Stay numb so you'll blend in. But you're done blending. You're done waiting for recognition. You've stepped into the part of the journey where your power is internal, where your moves are made in silence, where your strength isn't what you show, but what you withhold. You don't chase anymore. You magnetize. You don't explain. You exist, fully, unapologetically, unshakably. That's why the question doesn't surprise you anymore. How did you know? Because it's not even a question of knowledge. It's a question of vision. And vision is born from suffering, silence, and sharp self-reflection. You were forged in a fire they never saw. You were shaped in storms that never made headlines. You built yourself, brick by bloody brick, while others were looking for shortcuts. And now, when you speak, your voice carries weight because it comes from truth, not theory. Look around. The world is changing, and fast. Illusions are breaking. Truth is rising. The veil is lifting, and people are scrambling for anchors, for voices they can trust, for leaders who don't lead with noise, but with vision, with certainty. You don't have to be the loudest to be that anchor. You just have to be true, and you are. Because you earned your clarity. You didn't borrow it. You didn't fake it. You bled for it. And now you walk through chaos untouched, because you already mapped this storm before it ever arrived. But even with all this strength, even with this fire in your chest, there are nights where the weight hits you. Let's not pretend otherwise. There are nights where being this aware feels like a burden, where you envy the ignorant, where you wish, just for a moment, you could not know, where you could believe the lie, play the game, laugh, like you don't feel the shift under the surface. But you can't, because the truth lives in you now, and it's louder than comfort, and that's okay, because you didn't come here for comfort. You didn't come here to blend in. You came here to wake up, to evolve, to see. And once you do, once you really see, you realize something terrifying and beautiful, that you were always going to be misunderstood, that you were always going to walk alone at times, that your purpose was never going to be easy, but it was always going to be worth it, because every time you predict the storm, and move before it hits. Every time you feel someone's energy shift and act accordingly. Every time you trust your gut and it saves you, you confirm what you already knew. This gift isn't a coincidence. This vision isn't an accident. You are meant to see what others can't. You are meant to walk this path, and the more you trust it, the stronger it becomes. The more you honor it, the quieter the world's noise becomes. The more you sharpen it, the more undeniable you become. Not everyone will understand you. They're not supposed to. Not everyone will recognize your silence as strength. They're not supposed to. But someday, they'll feel your absence like a power outage. They'll look around in confusion and remember the one who warned them, the one who moved early, the one who knew. And when they whisper again in disbelief, "Wait, how did you predict that?" You'll just smile, not from ego, but from peace, because some of us didn't come here to fit in. We came here to remember, to see, to warn, to lead, even if it means walking alone, even if it means being early, even if it means being feared before being followed. You are not broken. You are built different. And that difference, that's your weapon. So walk tall, watch quietly, move when your gut says move, and trust that every storm you dodge, every soul you outgrow, every shift you sense before it hits, it's not paranoia, it's prophecy. You are not like the rest. And that's why the question will never stop. Wait, how the hell did you know that? Let them ask. Let them doubt. Let them wonder. You'll be too busy building the future to answer.